Hello everyone. So this is another episode of Tips for Truthers for my patrons only. This is a tough one because I don't really have a pre-script of what to say to this. It's one of those things where it's kind of, when you know, you just know. Okay, so bear with me. But there's I have phrased the tip like this. Okay, you need to understand that there's a difference between conspiracy and this thing we call conspiratainment. So, as I drive home from a wedding that I've just finished photographing, I'm going to try to explain to you what I mean about this. So, I remember when I worked at a supermarket, and there was this staff member who, people kind of discovered I had the channel, you know what I mean? And I wasn't a manager by this point, I was just a shop floor worker. It wasn't a big deal that I had a channel then. And when I became a manager, they tried to sack me and threatened to demote me if I didn't stop making videos. But other than that, you know, when someone found out about my channel and that I'm a conspiracy theorist, this girl said, "Oh, I love conspiracy theories." Okay, and that piqued my interest, as it naturally would. When someone says that, you're like, "Oh, do you? Are you one of us?" You know. and you know, she started talking to me, and I realised she's not a conspiracy theorist. She's not awake in any sense of the way. What she's done is she's followed these mainstream YouTubers who basically go and expose like companies and things like that for weird practices, you know, and it's like a conspiracy about something so petty and useless and irrelevant to the grand scheme of things that it's not really conspiracy, you know what I mean? It's not about the grand overarching conspiracy that controls the world. It's about this one particular YouTuber, let's say, just trying to expose that a particular drinks company has been putting too much sugar in their drinks, or something stupid, just something stupid like that, you know. And I can't remember who it is, but there is this big famous YouTuber that this is how ignorant I am. I don't follow any of it, so I don't know the names. I'm aware this thing happened, you know, these people follow these type of things. And you know, it's just silly. It's just silly. I'm stuck in sort of weird traffic situation here right now. Are they turning? They are turning, so I'm going. Right, here we go. Speeding through. There we go. Right, so this is where I realised that there's this whole subculture online of faux conspiracy theorists. Like they're not really in on what we do in any way, shape, or form. But they have umbrellaed themselves and become known as the conspiracy channels, you know. And it's sad really, because they're recommended. They're in the recommended of YouTube. But if you're there, then you're not really you're not hitting the nail on the head. You know, you're not offending the wrong people. You're not really ruffling any feathers with whatever you're saying if you're on the main page of YouTube, right, slap bang in the middle, you know. It's that kind of thing. But that's what this person meant. And this is where I realised and I learned there's this thing, you know, called conspiratainment. It's not really conspiracy. It's just there as kind of like a fast food bit of fun for people to get involved with and think they're thinking about deep things. And you know, I couldn't help but feel a little bit offended. Like it's cultural appropriation. They've appropriated our conspiracy culture. How dare them? They're not one of us. Like, they're just taking our world and making a mockery of it in a sense. You know what I mean? It's not fair. You know, my culture is not your subject matter type of thing. I kind of annoyed about it. But this whole conspiratainment idea, it comes under other categories as well. You know, there's other ways of kind of putting under this umbrella of conspiratainment. There are other subjects that aren't like that. And I would hazard a guess that I need to make a separate video about this, but there are these topics within the conspiracy culture that we're in, which I think do end up coming under the bracket of conspiratainment and aren't truly useful as much as we like to think they are, or have been convinced that they are. And also within that, there are podcasters and YouTube creators out there who talk about conspiracy theories, but they're doing it for fun. They're not doing it because they would ever admit that they are a part of something bigger or have a belief or an opinion one way or the other. They're just doing it because it's crazy to think about type of stuff, you know. And those podcasts and those people, I suppose they have their place. They're a good way to introduce people to the concepts of conspiracy theories. But they still come under that umbrella term that I'm making here of conspiratainment. The stuff they're saying will never cross that big of a line. It will never really teach people about what's really going on that much, you know. It's still just there to be eaten up as a kind of a fast food information type thing. So this is what I'm saying, why it's hard to describe, because some people genuinely think that what they're listening to are groundbreaking truths, you know, and it's hard to then explain to them that it's not as deep as you think it is, you know, because as far as they're concerned, that's as deep as it gets. And I don't necessarily want to tell them, you know, that the whole world is utterly corrupt to the point where their entire paradigms need to completely be shattered and rebuilt from the ground up in order for them to see the reality of what it truly is. I think they're happy where they are. It's they're happy thinking they've scratched enough beneath the surface to think they cracked some kind of code and then going back to their lives. Maybe they're not ready yet to cross that line and go deeper, go further. And maybe, like I said, this conspiratainment is a stepping stone. But as someone who's really woken up and is really going into the conspiracy stuff now, you need to distinguish the difference and realise when you're looking at conspiratainment or you're looking at real truth. Another thing that comes under these brackets, and I've just made a video about this recently, is things like zeitgeist or Super Size Me, for example, which is about how evil fast food is and how bad it is for your health. Or there was another one as well about the meat industry, you know, and how corrupted and evil that is and how the animals are abused. There's another one, you know, about maybe the monetary systems and the corrupt banking systems in the world. And usually these kind of conspiracy documentaries are on things like Netflix. You know, they're there for the mainstream to gobble up, to think that they're sticking it to the man, you know, and in some way rebelling against the status quo and the system. But what they're actually there for is on purpose to destabilize nations and create these useful idiots, activists who will go out and do the bidding of the social Marxist regime, basically. But they think these are groundbreaking conspiracies that need to be known by everybody and everyone, and that's the whole woke culture comes under this, unfortunately, you know, that's what it is. And I say unfortunately because being awake or being woke used to be our term before it became this politically left-wing charged liberal social Marxist thing. Being woke was knowing the conspiracy truths like we talk about, you know, and they co-opted that term around the 2015-16 era in the build-up to President Trump, that our term being awake got taken away from us and turned into this being a social Marxist liberal. And you know, I'm still bitter about that because it was a fun, useful term which we got from the Matrix. You know? So yeah, guys, I think you know what I'm trying to say here. There's a difference if you're doing your research. Learn to distinguish the difference between conspiratainment and truth. Okay, there are things that have been produced and made, and there are people out there who present things in ways which are there for you to consume in a mainstream media type of way. And I say consume because that's what it is. It's commercialized to the max. It's a part of the agenda usually. It's not as deep as you think it is. It will not teach you anything close to the real truth. If anything, usually they embed some kind of deception in there about the New Age agenda. Learn to distinguish the difference, okay? And I think I've given you enough hints there to figure out what the difference is when it happens. You'll know it when you see it. If you've been doing your research and studying hard enough, you'll get there anyway to realise what it truly is. But that's today's tip, you know. And like I said, you'll know it when you see it. It's a tough one to decipher, but it's real and it's everywhere. It's prolific. A lot of people watch these things, think they've learned some truth, and then stop. You know. Anyway, I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.